See if that's going to work. Excellent. Did that work? Excellent. That worked. All right, cool. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Yeah, sweet. All right.
Fine.
Now, I know a lot of you were at the summit, um, but I see a few new faces that possibly weren't, so that's awesome. Um, just curious, did everyone here, are they running the latest beta, which is beta 39, as of right now?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Um, so let's see. Should we do I does anyone have any open questions right now about stacks or do you want me to do a live tour? Is anyone here not played around with stacks at all or
I haven't haven't spent a lot of time with it. Just starting in.
okay.
I've had the stocks.
All right. So I guess I will I'll share my screen and also actually before I start diving into stacks, um I do want to point out so on the community just some of these Zoom windows around.
It was an update.
We go to, I think I put it in announcements. Yeah. So if you go to the announcement was for beta 38. We're on beta 39 now, but the Apple Auto update. I do link to a lot of I have a bunch of FAQs here. If you go into the actually to the replies of this post, I posted a bunch of there is a live stream on the first look of Stacks app. Um, and then there's also a download to the Foundation 6 theme beta. Okay. And the big one here, which I wanted to make sure we clarified, is kind of the this one, which is a lot of kind of FAQs. Okay. Um, so I just want to quickly review some of these questions because I know some people were you know asking a lot of these. So if you guys didn't know, here, I'll just stop screen sharing so you can kind of see me talk. Um, so yes, Stacks and RapidWeaver, if you're completely new, I know not everyone is abreast of all the upcoming knowledge that a lot of others that have that Stacks and RapidWeaver are breaking up, I guess, for lack of a better term. Okay. Okay. Um, I know there's a lot of people that are on the RapidWeaver maybe mailing lists and they watch the RapidWeaver forums and whatnot. And so they've been seeing a lot of talk about elements. And so yeah, RapidWeaver is going down to the path of releasing a new app called Elements. And Isaiah from Your Head is going to be releasing a dedicated Stacks app, obviously called Stacks. Okay. Stacks 6 from now on. I know it kind of changed names a little bit. For a while, it was Stacks Pro. But the Pro was being removed just because Isaiah wanted just to have the app called Stacks. So I will be referring to it as Stacks 6 because it will be version 6 of Stacks, whereas version 5 is obviously the current plugin version that works with RapidWeaver. Okay. Now, um, one thing to note, obviously the app is in beta. Okay. And while this current version works actually pretty well, especially a lot nicer than the version from a year ago, but it is beta. I would still say it's not production site ready. Okay. But so yeah, if you have any issues, please let me know. I'd appreciate it if, yeah, I'm trying to be the gatekeeper. I want to make sure Isaiah has as much time to focus on finishing this app as possible. So if that means you guys contact me and I'm working with you on these things rather than, him trying to worry about helping users through a beta. Okay. So I know a lot of the ins and outs of the current status of the app and what parts are issues and what parts are good to go. So yeah, please go ahead and there is a space on the Weaver Space community. Okay. If you aren't here, let's go ahead and I'll show you where to find that. So when you're on the community, on the side here, there is a Stack 6 beta group. It's also linked in my announcement post, okay, and in the emails. But there is a Stack 6 beta group. If you click on that, okay, you can go ahead and I believe there's I'm already joined, but there is a join button here. And then if you once you join this space, everything in here will show up in your live feed. Okay, so you'll see any new posts and whatnot. But yeah, if you want to be a part of the Stack 6 beta discussions, go ahead and join this space. And please post everything in here if you have issues or feedback, and I will, work with you on that. If there are any issues, I'll take care of filing all the bugs and getting Isaiah all the proper information that we need to file that bug if there are any. Okay. All right. Next up is a couple. I'm just gonna finish going through some of these FAQs. So yeah, we now have 2 apps. Okay. Stack 6 is going to be kind of our future. Now, what's great about Stack 6 is that you're not gonna have to start from scratch. If you went to the other path of this breakup, you'd have to restart every site from scratch. Okay. We are shooting for, our goal is 100% compatibility with all of your existing stacks inside Stacks 6. Okay. Will it be 100%? It won't. Okay. I'll give you one example is my portal stack. Now, this has nothing to do with stacks, but my portal stack relies heavily on the structure in which RapidWeaver publishes files. And Stack 6 publishes files differently, arguably actually a lot nicer. It's slightly more organized, right? So it is nice. But Portal, it completely breaks because the structure in which the site is published is totally different. So Portal will break. Now, Portal is, I think, an edge case stack. It doesn't have a ton of users. If you are a Portal user, what does that mean? I haven't made the decision yet, but I am 80% sure that the stack is going to get retired.
I'm on the edge. I'm falling.
Oh, yeah?
I use it all the time.
Okay. Well, there are alternatives that we could potentially come up with, right? There are some new things in Stack 6, such as layouts, that I think could help us there. And yeah, if I do bring Portal over to Stack 6, it'll have to be basically a complete rewrite of the app. Okay. Which I'm not fully against, but it will have to be redone. So, and if it is any consolation, actually the Weaver Space website requires it. So, the Weaver Space website couldn't work without Portal. So yeah, it might have to be a requirement. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, so that's a good thing for Portal users that my website requires it because, well, my website requires it. I don't know. Yeah, I might have to have no choice. Right. But there we are. Other things, stacks such as, I know a lot of you guys here today are using Foundation. And Foundation has a few stacks. I'm not sure how widely used they are. There is a stack called RW Menus and RW Text. Those particular stacks use actually RapidWeaver theme APIs inside the stacks. And because, RapidWeaver themes aren't compatible with Stacks themes, we can talk about that in a little bit. Those stacks will probably, they'll have to go the way of the dodo. Okay, they won't work in Stacks because those particular stacks within Foundation use the theme API. Stacks does have an entirely new theme API built from the ground up. And so, there is, as I said earlier, a beta version of Foundation for us to start working on that. Okay. And eventually, some of those theme APIs might make its way into some of the stacks. So maybe I can have something equivalent to the RW menu stack in as a stack. But anyway, but Foundation already has, if you're using that, already has kind of the menu builders anyway. Okay. So there is that. Will you have to repurchase any of the stacks? No. All of your again, we're shooting for the most compatibility that we can. So that all of your existing stacks, you probably could have 100 of them. Like Matthias, if he's here, he has 6,000 of them. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, so yeah, we're shooting for all of those to be functional inside the Stacks app. Oh, and the consolation here is your existing setup with RapidWeaver and Stacks 5, right? It's just going to continue to work. Okay. So for the foreseeable future, yes, I know we all want to start working on the new thing now, but what we have now is continuing to work. So please continue to use your existing setups to develop your existing sites and to maintain them until things are more stable. And in terms of migration, how is that going to work? So as of right now, and we can look at this, you can copy and paste stacks from your project files into Stacks app. But eventually, no ETA on when or when this will happen, but hopefully we'll also have a project import so you can actually maybe help automate some of that process. But right now you can copy and paste from a RapidWeaver project into a Stacks project with a few caveats. And please remind me, I'll do that live and I'll show you what kind of works and what doesn't work and whatnot with that copy paste method. Okay. All right. Any questions on that? On anything that I've just said? No? Sweet. Okay. Foundry users. Okay. I don't know if there are any Foundry users in here. I am working. I have a entire test setup already with Foundry 3 to make sure that Foundry 3 will work nicely in Stacks, okay, as much as possible. I can kind of show you what I have so far. I've identified a few issues that will need to be fixed in a future Stacks 6 beta to make it 100%, but we're getting there, okay? And the Foundry stacks do function for the most part. Again, there's just a few little bugs that I found that the Foundry stack has that we'll have to fix inside the Stacks app. But yeah, we'll be able to have Foundry 3 sites inside Stacks app. Right. So that's a great thing. Obviously, I do think long term, like I recommend you find a new framework. Okay, whether that's Foundation or Source or UIKit is another one. There's another framework I think I'm missing. I think Source and Foundation are the two big ones, and UIKit. And I feeling there's one other. I'm not sure if Platform is still used. Does anyone here ever use Platform? I'm not sure if that's still maintained. I don't know. I think there was one called Platform. I saw Fernando put in the chat. Do we need the Foundation 6 theme if we have the Foundation 6 RapidWeaver theme? Yes, you do. Okay. So the themes, the RapidWeaver themes will not work inside Stacks app. So yeah, there is a download in that FAQ on the community to the Foundation 6 theme. And it is currently in beta. It is just for Stacks. So you'll notice that the extension for it is Stacks theme. In fact, here I'll share. Let's go ahead and show you that now. So if I go into view, do show library. Okay. Well, mine says dev Stacks theme. That's just I'm in developer mode. So yeah, it'll look like this. So it'll be Foundation 6.stacks theme. Okay. And to install it, this is actually a good thing. So if you go into Stacks, okay, and you go into view and then do show library folder in Finder, okay. I filed a bug and something, if you're not using columns view like I am, if I were to go into, let's say this view, Okay. I know a lot of you use this view by default. Okay. You'll notice that it takes you into library application support stacks. Okay. It should take you up to this folder here. Okay. So if we go up one level, you'll notice that there is then a stacks folder and a themes folder. Okay. So all of your stacks that you currently have installed in RapidWeaver, you can copy them into here. Okay. As you see, I've copied I have my entire stacks library in here. Okay. Now themes, you cannot move your RapidWeaver themes. They will not work in stacks. Anything that you currently have, I am working on migrating a bunch of old RapidWeaver themes into stacks. Into stacks themes. I did purchase the entire Nick Cates back catalog. So over time, I will be revamping most, probably not all of them, to be stacks themes. So the first one I'm working on is called Reason. I'm sure you're familiar. It was a theme that shipped with RapidWeaver 7, I believe. And then Nick Cates released a pro version of that to purchase. So Reason is one of my favorite themes. I thought it was just really nice, clean looking theme. And Isaiah loved it as well. So actually, Isaiah, I'm working with him to come up with a decent process for migrating existing themes into stacks themes. So the first two themes I'm going to be working on is Reason and Writer. Those are two Nick Cates themes, and those will probably be the first two themes that get shipped for stacks, obviously on top of the Foundation 6 theme. Okay. But anyway, again, you have to make sure that it only works with stacks themes. Okay. And that's what it will look like. And you will put it inside of the themes folder. There is a known bug right now. If you double click to install, it will not work. It will cause stacks to crash. Okay. Known bug. Again, we're in beta. So, but yeah, so you have to manually move them into these folders. Okay. You cannot double click them. Okay. And again, this has to do with beta 39. That's the current beta we are on. Okay. Let me move this back to dev stacks thing. Okay. Cool. Okay. I was going to show off one other thing. Shoot, I said I was going to do it, and now I forgot. See, what was it? Let me look at my list of questions here. I talked about themes and moving everything over. Okay, I think I did.
You said you were going to copy from one.
Oh yes,
from a RapidWeaver project.
Yeah, I was going to copy. Oh yeah, so that's a good thing. We'll start this now. So I will start a new project. Okay, file, new project. Okay, and I'm going to open up an existing RapidWeaver project. I will open up. Let's do foundationstacks.com, project file for foundationstacks.com. Okay, so here is a quite involved page. Okay, so here I have a brand spanking new project in Stacks, and here I have an existing project file that uses Stacks. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go into this, and I'm going to do Command A, right? I'm going to copy everything. Command C. I'm going to go into here, and I'm just going to paste. And voila. All my stacks came over. Okay. Pretty cool. Now there's some caveats. Okay. First off, I do have a site styles partials, and I just double clicked it to show you it doesn't work, and it crashed. And that's because partials right now, are not enabled or working well inside Stacks beta. Okay. So, yeah, as you just saw, I tried to open up that partial because this is a partial over here. Okay. So the partial editor hasn't been enabled yet. Okay. Let me do that again, and I won't click into the partial this time. So one caveat, if you really want to play with something like that right now inside Stacks, you'd have to unpack it here and then copy paste it over. Okay. Because yeah, you can't edit partials, templates, or externals yet within Stacks. It only accepts normal Stacks. Again, that's just temporary. It is something obviously that will be supported. okay, in the future. Okay, let's just go ahead and Control C, paste. And what the heck? What did I do there? It worked before. Look at that. Man, Control C. There it goes. All right. One thing that's nice though is so if you saw, I just created a couple crash reports. Isaiah gets those now. Anything that was like a crash report prior, Isaiah never got any of that information. So I will speak for him a little bit. I know that he loves getting all of those crash reports now because you can actually, focus on them and work them and fix those crashes. So that's really nice. All right, what are the other things that we will have to do? Copy paste isn't enough. Okay, so obviously RapidWeaver has a bunch of stuff that that is not baked into the stacks page, right? Obviously over here in the page inspector, we have things like the page name, the folder it's in, right? None of that data comes over right now, right? So you have to go into here and put in the folder name and all that jazz. Okay, the page title, things of that nature. Okay, so yeah, so you have to reset up all that stuff. Okay, now another thing that is important is let's go into this.
Just for the record, Joe,
Yes?
you have to do that in RapidWeaver too, because it just names them all page X,
Yes, it does. Page 1, page 2, but yeah, exactly. What's kind of cool is actually how Stacks names its folders and its publishing folders. It's pretty slick. I'll show you that later on. Okay. But anyway, let's go into this guy right here. Okay, so this is a link stack. And it's a link button from Foundation. And what you'll notice is it has a link setting. Okay. So while it does show demo page 5, this is like data that Stacks attempted to import from your RapidWeaver project. Obviously, page 5 doesn't exist inside my Stacks folder. Okay, so most settings you will have to redo. Okay, but now I was talking to Isaiah about this yesterday, I believe. I'm going to test this out. Actually, I haven't even tested it, so we're going to do this live. So I'm going to create a button that links to a URL. Okay, let's just do links to foundationstacks.com. Apparently, if I copy and paste this, since it's linking to just a URL, it should properly paste over here. Let's try. So I'm going to do Command C. We're going to paste. And voila. Let's see if I edit. Cool. It does say it's linked to that URL, which is nice. Okay. So it looks like links will only not work if they are linked. In this case here, it is linked to a particular page in my project file. Okay. Because that's using like the internal RapidWeaver linking tool. Okay. So that's nice. That's a very nice thing to have. So as long as your links are linked to a URL, we should be good to go, which is cool. Which is actually nice because if you're using like warehouse images, I know a lot of, at least my stacks tend to use this link tool so you can, link to the URL of your image. So a lot of those should come over, which is nice. Good to know. All right. Another big thing with copy paste, there's two of them that I'm currently aware of. So first is the link. The second one is, let me see if I can find, oh, here. All right. So here, this is a picture stack, and normally there is a picture over here. So if we go over into here, voila. Okay. So here was a picture of Massimo. Okay. And if you notice over here, that image did not get copied over. Okay. So that is another known issue that will hopefully get resolved, should get resolved. It's on the to-do list, where if you copy, and it's not just images here, if you have a stack where you drag an image into the edit mode area here, none of those images come along for the ride yet. Okay. So the fix for that is you'll just have to re-add the images. Hope you have these images somewhere else and you'd have to re-add them in. and you should be good to go. But yeah, they won't come along for the ride when you're copy pasting. Okay. Other things that are important that you might have inside RapidWeaver, you notice on the page inspector, there's all these various tabs. Okay, there's CSS, JavaScript, primarily CSS and JavaScript. Okay, you might have code in here. Okay, there isn't these fields. There are no corresponding of these fields yet inside Stacks. Okay, so if I have a CSS snippet or a JavaScript snippet, how am I going to get that into my Stacks page? And basically what you can do is there's already CSS stacks. So you could just, drag that to the page and then paste in your CSS code there. It effectively actually just does the same exact thing that this does. Okay. And same thing for JavaScript. So if we go JavaScript, now, these particular ones that you're seeing, these are CSS and JavaScript files, are stacks that come with Foundation. But if you have my starter pack, it also has a CSS and JavaScript files there as well. Okay. So yeah, I would just add, if you want a JavaScript, just drag that onto the page, go over here, copy your code, put in here and paste it into the JavaScript file.
And for those that don't know, starter pack's free.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, all the starter pack is free. I actually have an update that I should get out, and I'm going to add another new stack to starter pack soon. Hopefully, it should be released by next week. But yeah, starter pack is it's free. You can't beat the price, and it is a really good suite of stacks for free, like damn good. Okay, so there we go.
That's where Pen is as well now, isn't it?
Yes, Pen is a very popular stack. So a lot of my free stacks kind of migrated. I kind of merged them all into the starter pack. So you just had one thing to get. So yeah, Pen, NoClick was a stack. HTML wrapper used to be a stack. Yeah, a bunch of these were. So yeah, a lot of them kind of got merged. And my goal with the starter pack was just to give the stacks that come out of the box with stacks are very, very, very basic. I felt that these were just a step up from that. And yeah, I wanted the ability to give new users to stacks the ability to have a really decent quality suite of things that they can build a decent website with for free with just owning the Stacks app. So and I think the starter pack does exactly that. Okay. Any other questions on kind of the current process for copying and pasting? Again, I'm sure in the future we'll have a much nicer, fully supported way. But yeah, copy paste, it gets us, I don't know, maybe 75 to 80% there. Really, I did play around and I recreated this project file in Stacks just to kind of see how long. It really took me like 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. To copy paste all the content. Now I didn't take time to go through and drag and drop all the images in there. So, we're talking maybe an hour or two, depending on, how many pages and how many images and how many what you have. Right. But yeah, it's not a huge amount of time to move everything over. But like I said, this is currently a beta. I wouldn't recommend trying to move wholesale over to Stacks yet. Okay, let's just use it just for testing and playing around.
I have a question, Joe.
Yes.
About the page settings, files, and folders. In the folder name, it's not automatic that is going to, even if you leave it like a blank, or you really have to put the folder name.
Yes. So what you can do, so what's kind of nice is if I go ahead and add a new page, let's just call this Hangout. Okay. What you'll notice is so when you create a new page title, it automatically creates a folder name for you. Okay. So without creating anything here, you'll notice that the folder name it says Hangout. Okay. It's kind of grayed out. But if I just publish this right now without giving it a folder name, it's going to publish this page to /hangout. Actually, you can see the actual URL that will get published here. Right. And if I do Hangout test, right, you'll notice that it does Hangout -test. Right. So by default, the folder name will be based on the page title, which is really, really nice.
Even if you just adjust the one on the the main link,
Yes.
the over here on the left side, the pages,
Mm-hmm.
it changes the page title and probably the folder name, right?
Well, if I go ahead and say
Change it.
I want to publish this to about, okay. Once you type in here, it's now hard coded to that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I can now change this to be whatever I want, and it's not going to change this.
Oh,
Once
I
you
see.
add a value here, it will be this value.
Hard coded, yeah.
Okay.
And how about the file name? You don't need to put the file name because you already put in the setting index, like for example,
Yes. Yep.
PHP or
You're jumping
HTML.
ahead a little bit, but yeah. So yeah, in the site settings, you can have your default base file name and your default extension. Okay. Actually, this is a good foray. Let's go over the kind of the UI and the settings here. Okay. So in Stacks, a lot of our configuration, as we're used to, is going to happen inside of this settings pane on the right. Okay. And think of these settings panes as like the most high level down to the most detailed. Okay. So here in site settings, these are going to be all the settings for your site level, like your project wide settings. Okay. So here you're going to put your site name and any subtitle in your website URL. Okay. And then here you're going to put your default file base name. So by default, every page by the default settings will be called index.html because we have a default extension and a default page name. Now, I'm going to recommend no one ever change the default file base. Like this should always be index, in my opinion. Okay. However, one important thing is maybe we want to make all our new pages default to PHP. So if I go ahead and type in PHP here, now all of my pages will be called index.php by default. Okay. Like if I go back to this Hangout page, okay. We'll see. Oh, I believe that's there is a current bug. I believe this default extension, it requires a restart of or reopen of the project for it to be applied to existing pages. Okay. But anyway, so yes, so this default extension is PHP. Okay. And you can say always use default extension. Right. And then a copyright notice. Now, right here, this is where you can set up what your homepage is, what your theme is, and then what your primary layout is. Okay. I do recommend there was a bug that this checkbox was turned on by default in the last beta. I recommend turning this off. There are some issues when there are some bugs when this is turned on right now that will get resolved. However, I do recommend, especially if you're using Foundation, you turn this off. Okay, so jQuery compatibility mode, that should be turned off, especially if you're using MyStacks. If you're curious what this does, this essentially, this adds support for basically really, really old stacks that were never updated to work with jQuery 3. Okay. Yeah, all of my stacks should work in jQuery 3 now. And basically turn this on if you have some really old stack that maybe hasn't been updated or maintained, and it might not work until this is enabled. And what this does is it allows you to have both jQuery 2 and jQuery 3 on the page at the same time, which I don't recommend doing. But there we go. That's what that does. Okay. So that's it for the site level settings. Okay. This next panel, This actually isn't really settings. It's more of an informational panel. So basically whatever you have selected over here, okay, it'll just show the details, right? And if you ever, it doesn't matter what pane you're in, if you ever double click on a stack here, it'll give you the information over here. Okay. So if you want to go to the product web page for it, in the future, I have a bug to put in like help links and stuff like that in here. So there'll be a little bit more information in here if you wanted to get access to the documentation for a particular stack. Okay. So that is this library info pane. The next up is the theme settings. Okay. So right now, this particular project by default, it's using the sample theme. Okay. But let's switch it to foundation. Okay. And if we switch to foundation, we'll notice that we now have a lot of settings in here. Okay. Now there are multiple ways to change your theme in Stacks. This is one way, right? Just by changing this menu within the theme tab. Another way is if you remember in site settings, I can go ahead and change the theme here. Okay, so this primary theme setting, we can do that. And another way is inside the Stacks library, if we go over to the themes, you can see all your themes that are installed here. Just double click on a theme and that will change the theme. And if you notice, as I double click this, it actually changes all the settings and whatnot here as well, right? So if we go to Reason, here's the current set of Reason themes, theme settings, and the primary theme set to Reason Pro. Okay. Now a little side talk about foundation. With Stack 6, if you recognize these settings, these are settings that were traditionally inside site styles. Because all of that has now been moved into the theme, we no longer need to use the site styles stack. Okay, so that means when you're creating your pages, you actually don't need to create, you don't need to add the site style stack to the page at all. You basically, if you want to add swatches to the page, you'll add a swatches stack and then add all your swatches into a swatches stack. Okay. Now, how are you going to migrate from site styles to the new theme settings? I recommend, if you're over here, you have your old project file in here, you can go into site styles, look at the settings, and just copy them. It is a manual thing. Okay. There won't be a way of migrating your site style stack settings from your old project into the theme settings. Okay. It will be a manual process, but I am keeping the settings identical. So I'm not going to be changing the settings over here to kind of throw you any curveballs. Okay. A lot of these little layout options here don't exist in the theme. They didn't make sense to have inside Stack 6. But yeah, everything else is identical. Okay. So it's a one-to-one match. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Continue the tour down. So remember we did site settings and this is the theme settings. Next up is page settings.
Joe,
yes.
Will the update processing be the same as it is stacks and themes? How will they update? The same way?
Yes. We'll go over updating in a minute. That's a great
Okay,
question
good.
though. Great question. Okay. Page settings. Okay, this is obviously going to be our page specific settings. So we'll have our page name, folder, and file name, which we saw earlier. Do you want this to be published? Do you want it to be a part of the navigation? Because now the foundation theme doesn't necessarily create a navigation, but other themes can. So do you want this pages to be in the navigation or not? Okay. Next up is this override styles. So you can actually override a theme styles for a particular page. This feature, while you can see it here, it does not work yet. Okay, so if you turn this on and start having custom settings for a particular page, it's not going to work right now. Okay. And then lastly, the very last tab is going to be the stack settings, right? So when you click on a stack, this is going to be the settings for that particular stack. Any questions?
Yo,
Yes.
maybe this is very specific, but I have a test page that actually imports thousands of JavaScript. Okay, several JavaScript files with thousands of lines.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to do it here? I don't really see a way.
So you're importing custom JavaScript files?
Yeah.
Okay. It's easy. So all you do here is, I'm assuming you have the script tags, right? So what you'll do is you'll just add an HTML stack to the page.
Yeah.
And then I'd recommend you put it at the bottom of the page, right? So you probably put it at the bottom. Okay. And then you'll put your script tags in there.
Okay. Yeah, but in RapidWeaver you have like the head section, the body section, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yep. Essentially, this will do the same thing as the body section, right? So yeah, right now, if you put in script tags here, it will effectively do the same exact thing that the body section in RapidWeaver does. Okay.
Okay, so if I want like the head section, I just insert the head section here.
The head section currently there actually isn't the way for you to inject anything into the head yet.
Oh, okay.
Yep. That will definitely come. I guess one way, if you really want to do, actually one way to do it now, is if you have my SEO helper stacks, okay,
Yeah.
that will actually do that. So if we used SEO meta tags, okay, and then inside here there is custom meta tags, and whatever you put into here will go into the head.
Okay, yeah, but yeah.
Okay. So
okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
And when are we supposedly getting the beta version?
It's already shipped. So beta 39, it's already out. I have an announcement post on the community and you can go get it there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Next major feature of Stacks, okay, is going to be something completely new. It's a new way of doing workflow. And let me go ahead. I'm going to close this project out. I'm going to open up a different one. Okay. And that's something called, well, I guess here, well, let's move from the UI from right to left. Since I already talked about all the tabs, obviously the edit mode area is still the edit mode area. Okay. There is preview. Yeah, we can preview in here. All right, let's go ahead and all right, let's just put in some text or something. Right. Okay. So preview, obviously. Now, I know there was a few questions already posed by people where, you know, they were used to in RapidWeaver, when you went to preview, there was a, you know, preview as an iPhone or something like that. Okay. Stacks doesn't have that yet, and it probably won't have that for a while. Okay. If it does. Okay. And the reason is, there's already ways we can do that same exact thing and even better. Okay. So if I go ahead and preview in my browser, now I'm using Arc, which I was actually planning on doing a live stream on Arc today, but then I thought I'd reverse course and do something on Stacks since we have the new beta. Okay. Inside Dev Tools, okay, if you open up the developer tools and then click on this little guy right here, okay, you'll notice that it then comes up with this, this responsive design mode where you can then choose a particular device and preview. Okay. Other options, if you're not using, now this is what it looks like in Chrome and Arc and other Chrome-based browsers. But if I go ahead and preview in Safari, go ahead and open up Safari. It actually has a quite nice view, which is a little less scary developer looking. Okay. If you go to in Safari, if I go ahead and preview this in Safari, we go to develop and then do enter responsive design mode. Okay. And in here, you'll notice that we can select all the various iPhone or iPad sizes, and we can preview, you know, for that particular device. Okay. So,
excuse my ignorance, but
sure.
in Rapid Weaver, you have like a button when you just say preview in Safari, preview in. How do you actually go and preview in?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. My fingers it's the same as inside Rapid Weaver. It's command. I use Command P. It's the same in Stacks. Okay, but you can also do. I think if you use File, Preview in Browser.
Okay.
But yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Good question. My fingers do that automatically. Command P.
Okay, thank you.
I tend to instead Command R does preview, but I don't know. I always like enjoy previewing in the browser. It just you just get a much better experience, I feel, than even just previewing inside the app. So anyway, but yeah, then you can utilize these responsive design tools in Safari and other web browsers.
Okay.
If you wanted to go next level, I'll show you this. This is not a free option. Obviously, you know, Safari and Chrome and whatnot are free options. I use this app called Polypane. I do pay a subscription for it. Okay. But it does some pretty cool things that allows me to, you know, preview multiple, devices at the same time. It kind of syncs the scrolling. So yeah, it's just a nice app. It's something called Polypane. Again, I'm not affiliated, and it is not cheap. It is a subscription for the app. So, but there are other options out there for something similar to this.
Okay, thank you.
And last but not least, actually, there is my Measure Stack has a preview built in as well. So, but I won't go into that right now. Don't need any sales pitches right now. Okay. Okay, so that's edit mode. Library pane. Pretty much what we're used to. Okay. It's still getting me. I'm still getting used to the search being at the bottom instead of the top. Okay. And eventually, Command F will work. It doesn't work yet, right? So you can't like do Command F and then find and filter for a stack. Okay. So you do have to use the mouse right now, but it does work. Okay. So anyway, that the find is down here. Okay. You'll notice that there are multiple tabs. There is the stacks library, the theme library. Eventually there'll be more tabs here for, partials and templates and other things, right? That we'll have access to. Right now, you only have the access to the stacks and the theme. Now, someone noted, I didn't even notice this before, but if you scroll, I think all the way to the bottom, like all of your partials and templates do exist. They kind of show up here without any icon though, right? So there's a ton of them in here. You can't do anything with them. Okay. Like this, I know is a Foundation 6 template that I created. Okay. And yeah, it doesn't do anything yet. So eventually, right? Again, none of that stuff works yet. Okay.
So we should leave them there and not delete them out of the folder, correct?
I would not delete them, correct?
Yeah.
Unless maybe you don't want it anymore, if you know exactly what it is. But yeah, I just leave it for now. Yeah. All right.
Joe?
Next, yes, sir.
Quick question. I only caught like the last 15, 20 because I've been on a client call. Will this video be placed someplace where I can see the beginning of it?
It's on YouTube. You're live right now. Scott, say hi to the world.
Hi to the world. Bye. I'm not driving a bike. Sorry, guys.
Sweet. Okay. So the last pane over here, okay, is obviously where we add our pages, okay, and our page hierarchies and all that jazz. Not much new or exciting here. You might have noticed that there is currently a bug where images that are on the page sometimes show up as like a sub resource on the page. That is a bug. They will get removed. Okay, so you will see images that show up in here. And yeah, it's a bug. It'll get fixed. Okay. They're not actual pages. They don't exist. It's just kind of these phantom images that are there. Okay. You'll notice that there are a few other tabs here, and we don't have access to images or assets yet. Okay. But we do have access to the second one. Okay. And this is something called layouts. Now, layouts are going to be game changing for Stacks by leaps and bounds, I think. Now, I will show you a small quirk with some stacks inside of a layout. Okay. That is a known issue that will get fixed. Okay. Right now, Isaiah is focusing primarily on themes. And once themes are kind of, a little bit more stable, he'll start shifting focus to some other things. Okay, such as layouts again. But I'll show you the premise of what a layout will do for us. So here, and you can have multiple layouts, but here I have a layout, and if I preview it, you'll notice that it's empty, and that's kind of the bug. There are certain stacks. I forget the exact. I spent a long time figuring out the exact bug, but there are certain stacks that depending on what types of settings that they have, that once you close a project and reopen it, they have to kind of like be kicked to work again. So now that I've kicked those particular settings, we'll see that it actually works now. Okay. So this is what is a layout. A layout allows us to create, think of it as a theme builder. Okay. Especially for Foundation. Because Foundation is a blank slate, right? Here, let's change this one. So now when that should, it's not animating in. I don't know, whatever. So Foundation is a blank slate. And, a lot of times what we have to do nowadays is every single page has to contain the entire theme, right? But in Stacks 6, that's not what we need. That's not what we have to do. So what we'll do is we'll build our layout here, or basically what our page will look like. Okay. And then there is a special stack here called content. And this special content stack is only ever used in a layout. Okay. And wherever you put that stack is where the contents of your page will be. Okay. So when I preview the layout, you'll notice that it just kind of puts this placeholder content there. Okay. Well, let's go back to my pages. So here I have, this, and I go ahead and preview. And now we'll see that the content of my page was added to my layout. So now my page is my layout with my page merged together, which is pretty slick.
Yeah, so you can put a footer at the bottom of that.
Exactly. Yeah, I could put here, let's go ahead and do that. Great example. So let's say on the bottom of my page, I want to quickly add a footer. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll just create something super simple. Okay. Maybe we do like BG secondary.
So it's kind of like automatic partials, huh?
Yes. Okay. So P, and let's do a padding, I don't know, of like 64. Right. And then I'm not trying to win any design awards here, guys. I'm just gonna chuck in a menu. Okay. Make it a vertical menu.
That's outside of the content.
Yes, right. Here, actually, let's do a traditional footer. We'll do like 3 columns inside there. We're just gonna do blop, blop, blop. Okay. All right. So now we'll see that my layout is I have a header up here with a little header, and maybe I have my menu and all kinds of other stuff. And then I have my page content, and then below my content is I have a footer. Okay. So now this is what my page will look like. If you notice, I can have swatches in here and all that jazz. Now, if I go to my page and let's preview, we'll see that my page now has a footer and my banner. Right? But what's awesome is when I'm looking at this page, I only see what is specific to this page, which means it's not cluttered with tons of shit. Excuse my French, right? It's not going to be cluttered with tons of stuff. I only see what I need. So it gives us more working space. It makes things faster. It's just awesome. Okay. Now what's really cool is not only do I'm going to go ahead and the styles from the theme and the layouts are inherited inside the page. What do I mean by that? Okay. I'm going to quickly add a button to this content just because I think buttons are really simple to show you what they do. Okay. So I have a button and it's currently set to be the primary color. And you'll see that that primary color is set to purple. Okay. I'm going to go ahead. Let's go into the theme. So in my theme, we'll see that the primary color is set to purple. Let's go ahead and change that. Voila. So I changed my primary color and it changed on the page. Now let's go into the layout. Let's say the layout, I'm going to add a background swatch. And let's go and say this is I don't know, let's call it layout back or page back. And let's call it page. Okay. And I want to have a page background and I'm going to set it to, we're going to set it to something ugly just so we can see. Okay. So I created a swatch in my layout called page that's going to style anything with a class of page back. Okay. And it's going to get this yellow green color. Okay. So now I'm going to go into here. I'm just going to say page back. Blah. Okay. And that's because this page, if we go look at this page, right? This page it inherits the default layout. Okay. So in your site settings, you can define what the primary layout is. Okay. So my basic layout is my primary layout that every page is going to use. But on the page level, you can also do, I want to use a different layout, right? So you can create a different layout and then assign that layout to a particular page. Okay. Again, layouts are new. And yeah, there's still a couple small quirks as we saw. But as it's going to be very cool. I think the workflow is going to be amazing.
So
Yeah.
Joe, it's better like my I'm starting to build my website with the layout that is like the main navigation. I put it in layout and the footer is in layout. It's kind of like the layout. I just make it just like the canvas.
Exactly. Yep. That's
and then-
exactly what it is.
And then I put the bento on the other side.
Exactly.
That's where I put the content.
Exactly.
One of the advantages also is that the main navigation, I can put there the container as just a simple. So it's stretched out up to end to end.
Yes.
And then the bento is kind of like I put it into 1200 px. So it's easier that way for me.
Exactly. Yes.
Would that work, right? Like
Yes,
that?
it should work. Yes. Now, one thing I didn't notice, I didn't talk about is when we're in layout, the page tab here adjusts to layout settings. Okay, because we're no longer in. We're kind of here. We're in page mode. Here we're in layout mode, right? So this particular tab of the settings changes to be layout settings instead of page settings. Okay, so here you can name your layout. You can also the layout can actually use a different theme. Okay, layouts can also use other layouts. which is kind of crazy, right? You can have a layout that is inside of another layout, which is kind of boggles your mind a little bit. I wouldn't recommend doing that too much, but it is possible. Okay, where you can have a layout inside of a layout. Okay, so pretty cool stuff here. Layouts are going to be definitely a game changer for saving us time and energy for managing our designs effectively.
So you could have 2 or 3 different layouts and you're assigning one of those 3 layouts to each page?
Correct.
Joe, can
Right?
you
You'll have one layout that's like your default layout, and then you can have other layouts for different pages that are maybe like little one-off slight changes and
Like about us page or something like that.
Exactly, yeah.
Different. Yep. So you're assigning somewhere a layout to each page you make, right? A specific.
Yes. Yeah. So in the site settings, this is where you'll define. There's a primary layout setting. That's like the default layout for every page. Okay. But then when we go to let's go to the pages. When we go to the page settings, down here again, these particular settings don't work right now. Okay. But you'll be able to override that. So here, let me show you. Let's just go ahead and create a new layout. Okay. So here I have a new layout. Okay. Now, if I go into here, I can then choose this page is going to use the new layout.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how you'll be able to do that.
Didn't Adobe Muse used to do something like that?
It did work. Right. So here, let's so if I go into new layout, right, I'll just add in something up here. I'll just add in a header just so we can kind of see.
So basically, instead, when you're browsing a website and it just downloads a layout one time instead of downloading it for every single page you navigate.
Now, so as we see, so I created a new layout called new layout, and the only thing it does is just adds a header and then your content. Okay. No, again, I'm just trying to show you the functionality here. Okay. So in here on this home page, I went into the page settings and I said layouts and themes, and you say page specific settings, and then I choose new layout. Okay. Now, currently when you do this, it chooses the new layout and overrides the theme settings. So if you notice, my button is no longer purple, or I forget what color I changed it to. It's now blue again. Okay. But we got the new layout, right? So it says new layout here. Okay. So some of it is functioning. Now, if I go back to this, now we're back to, because I unchecked the override styles, we're now back to the default. Right. So now it's showing all these colors, and I have my actual default layout.
So one challenge I see is that trying to figure out where a class is defined could be hard. It could be like 3 layers down. So like, and like you figure it out when you're building it, but 3 months later you come back and you're like, where did I define that thing? Is it in, which layout is it in?
Fair.
And everything.
So a couple things, maybe, Brett gave a great talk on at the summit about some naming standards for classes and whatnot. So
Right.
maybe when your default layout has a bunch of like site-wide global stuff, right? And then maybe if you have a particular swatch that's in a layout, maybe you include the layout name in the class or something like that, right?
Yeah. It would be really nice if we could search for
so
class
that was going to be my
definitions.
next thing, is eventually, I know it's on the list, but I don't know when that will come, but it is planned to have some sort of project-wide search. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, until then,
that'd be
I think
awesome.
maybe trying to come up with some naming standards, just best practices. Again, it's nothing that will be enforced, but some sort of best practice kind of makes sense.
I'm just foreseeing the posts on the community about the.
Yes. But it's it's better than inside what pen is this class? You know,
Yeah. Right.
You
No,
know,
I really like the layouts. I mean, the idea behind it's great. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
So
Joe, I heard you mention that there was a link to the beta posted someplace.
yes, on the community. If you go to the announcement section, there's a announcement. I think it's the second one down about beta 38. The link is inside that post.
Announcements. Oh, I was in the Stacks beta one. Never mind.
Yeah. Go to announcements.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Yeah, I think that. Okay. Some things I didn't. Okay, so next thing is publishing. Okay, so there you can here there is an export button. Okay, and this will export locally, right? It's like publishing to a local folder. Okay, so I'm on my desktop. I can say new. Okay, we go there, and I can publish that. And it published everything into here. Okay. If you do this, you'll notice that there is a new publishing structure to Stacks, which I love. There's this new folder which most contents go into. It's called Site Assets, and that's where like images will get deployed. It's where all the layout specific CSS files and I prefer how things are organized here. Okay, I think it's very well organized, and everything again that all the Stacks reference are going to be inside Site Assets. Okay, basically inside your pages. Okay, you're just going to have a files folder. Oh, so that doesn't even have one. A files folder, and inside that you'll have a Stacks CSS and a Stacks JS. This is primarily what your structure is going to look like. You're going to have the web page, and then inside of a files folder, you're going to have a Stacks CSS and a Java and a Stacks JS. That should be it. Everything else is inside your Site Assets folder, and it's well organized into these folders. And inside those folders, they're organized by the stack that uses it. So, for example, here I have Drift, and then Drift it publishes this GSAP folder, and everything is right there. So it's very well organized. We can tell, what is using what inside of this Site Assets folder. Outside of Site Assets, again, everything is just going to be the web page and then the CSS and JavaScript specific to just that page. That's it. Okay. You might notice that layouts do currently get published or exported. That is a bug, right? So basically if you notice this is new layout, it's because I created this new layout. And so this gets published. It shouldn't. Okay. It is a bug. It's a known bug. I already filed it. So, but yeah, it's just an extra thing. But again, we're in beta. Okay. So, all right, next up is, so that's exporting. Next up is publishing settings. So if you go to publishing settings, you'll see that you can add in, none of this is new to anyone here, your server, your host name. One thing that's interesting is, so you don't have to provide the full path. Basically, I always do just because, yeah. So when I log into my server as Joe Workman, my home folder is /home/Joe Workman. Now, if I wanted to publish to the sandbox folder like this, I actually don't need that. I could just put sandbox. Okay. And it will, when you don't provide the full path, it will default to the home folder that you're currently logging in as. I like being explicit. I don't like any second guessing. So I personally like putting in /home/Joe Workman /sandbox. Okay. But yeah, it is kind of nice. I actually saw a user do this without just provided the folder that he wanted to publish to. And I was like, that's not going to work, but it does. So that's kind of a nice thing. Okay. And obviously you can authenticate with a password or a key. I haven't tested publishing with keys yet, and I'm not going to try to do that right now live. Okay. But yeah, username and password works. You can increase the number of max connections. Obviously, the higher this number, the faster your connections, your upload's going to be. But it depends on your host whether or not how many connections your host will allow at any particular point in time. And then you can go ahead and click validate. And you'll notice here that it actually gives you a little check mark, and it kind of gives you a nice little synopsis of everything that it ran. If there were any issues, here, like I'll type in, I'll put in the wrong username, and I'll go ahead and say validate. And it errored out. So here we'll see that password authentication failed, right? Because yeah, I intentionally put in the wrong username, right? So there we go. That's nice that it kind of gives us a nice little synopsis of what failed, so we know. Okay. And then from then you just go ahead and click deploy. And yeah, this window's a little anemic right now. I'm sure it will it'll get nicer, but once you're ready, just go ahead and click deploy site. It will connect and then upload the site to your server. Obviously it publishes. Wow, this publishes really slow while I'm on Zoom. I'm gonna cancel that. Okay. Actually, I've never tried to cancel a existing. One thing I did notice is that when everything's successful, there currently is no feedback about that. You just kind of got to go, oh, everything's 100%. It's done, right? But I filed a bug for that as well. We should have some sort of like success message or whatnot. Okay. So yeah, there we go. So that's deploying or publishing. It's gonna get weird saying deploy. I don't know. I'm getting used to publishing. I'll have to talk to Isaiah about that. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts about that? Do you like the re-terminology of publish to deploy? What do you guys think?
Yes.
You like it? Okay.
Yeah, at least it's different from Rapid.
Find it, but it is.
Well, can we just go with the Star Trek and have it say engage?
Yeah.
Engage.
I think he did it just to be different than the existing app, but yeah,
That's okay.
I think
We
he
could do
did
the
it
newer Star Trek and just and have Picard say it, make it so.
I thought it was engage.
No.
Sorry,
I think
Scott.
I think he did it because he had an existing product called Deploy. His FTP
Yes, he did.
was Deploy, so that's why he
there-
did it.
Yes,
That's what he said.
did.
So.
Yeah, there was and actually Deploy does a lot more than what these publishing settings have. So eventually more of those things will come along for the ride.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to get it. It would be hard to get him to change the name. I think he's attached to it.
Joe, I was on the phone, so I couldn't really see it, but the export button is what's going to put it locally on a hard drive.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I exported it to this folder, and there we go. Yeah, it just exports it locally. Another current issue that no one's discovered yet, but I will let you know that it is there. Okay. Some stacks have the ability to control what is displayed in preview versus publishing. Okay. Total CMS 1 is a big user of this. Okay. And currently that is broken in Stack 6. Stack 6 only displays what is supposed to be previewed. Okay. So yeah, that is a bug. Again, it's not with every stack. Total CMS 1, 100% you're going to have, it's not going to work well for you. Okay. It'll work great in preview, but I'm saying publishing, you're not going to get the expected published website. Okay. So forewarned with that, if you ever publish something and you're like, whoa, this looks off, it could be that. I was talking with Isaiah about that particular bug this morning, and he described it as that being a boss level bug. Okay. So that is, it is going to be one that is going to take him weeks to fix. And he knows he's aware of it. It needs to be addressed, but it is definitely a very complex thing that will need to be fixed and addressed. So, but let you know about that. Again, it's not every stack, but some stacks will have different views for preview and publish, and that could be affected on publish.
Oh boy.
Okay. Another thing is Preview does support PHP. However, the current beta 39, is missing a lot of extensions. So like feeds, total CMS, a lot of PHP based stacks. At least a lot of mine use some libraries that weren't compiled into the current version of PHP that's in Preview. That has already been fixed, but not shipped. So beta 40 will have a new internal web server that I'm suspecting should be much better, so that we can start using things like feeds and total CMS 3 as well within stacks. Any other questions? Things you'd like me to show off?
Explain the preview thing again, Joe.
So the preview thing?
What doesn't work if the stack has what views and edit?
You know that there's macros if preview and if publish.
Right.
Okay. It's those. So only if preview works right now. If publish is ignored.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay. So yeah. If you do if not edit, that works. But yeah, if edit works, but it's just the if publish macro does not work.
And it's not going to in the near future.
It depends on what you think near is. In the next week or two, no.
Define near.
Yeah.
Joe, just a kind of review question from when we first saw the demo last year. If I'm adding stacks to this, pretty much any stack that's been written will work with this from anyone, because I was going to play with, doing a couple of designs this week for a small site, not a TCMS site, just something simple for a one-page contact form kind of thing.
Yes, I would suspect, most stacks should work. Again, there are obviously some caveats and bugs. Which actually reminds me, I should go over some Foundry stuff that I've been saying. I've been working on some Foundry compatibility. So I'll show you what I've been doing.
I can tell you guys right now that virtually, I would say probably 95+% of my stacks won't work until that preview thing gets fixed.
Yeah. Yikes. All right. All right. So here, that's not the project I wanted to open. That's a RapidWeaver one. I need the stacks one. All right. So I said before that Foundry stacks will work in Stack 6, and I'm validated they do. Okay. There are some caveats though. Okay. Prior to beta 39, the base theme was going to be perfect for Foundry. The base theme adds some things in beta 39 that makes it not functional for Foundry. Okay. So in beta 40, there will be a new theme that's baked into stacks called, I think he's going to call it blank theme. Okay. That blank theme will be what we're going to use for what Foundry users will use. Okay. So yeah, right now I'm going to switch to the sample theme. Okay. Because the sample theme actually uses Bootstrap, and imports Bootstrap. So, yeah, we'll be able to at least preview and see, Foundry working. Okay. Which is nice. Now this is the sample theme that actually has the menu. So it's not the blank, again, a blank canvas sort of theme, which is what, Foundry is kind of based off of, just like Foundation. But again, that will require the blank theme to be here. Okay. So there are a couple caveats though. Curious, anyone here actually a Foundry user and try to get Foundry to work in stacks? Okay.
I was a Foundry user.
I'll show it off anyone in case anyone's watching this replay. Okay. So let me go ahead. I'm going to take these out. Okay, and we're gonna go in the layout. Oops, where is my layout stack there? All right, we're just gonna revert this to a basic layout. Okay, and we're gonna preview. And what you'll notice here is, here, let me go, because I told everyone to use the base themes. Let's switch to the base theme. Okay, so this is what people were seeing when they previewed Foundry with the base theme. Okay, they were seeing some, a navigation. Okay, a list of some links. Then they were seeing this warning message, and then their text weren't formatted at all. This text should be in 2 columns, not there at all. Okay, so one thing is, let's go ahead and switch to the sample theme, which is currently importing Bootstrap for us. And Foundry uses Bootstrap, so there we go. But we still get this warning, okay? And so how can we get rid of that? So essentially, I will supply this project file once we're ready, okay? And this layout does everything that the Foundry RapidWeaver theme does, okay? The only thing that the Foundry RapidWeaver theme did is it had this one div and it had this one line of CSS. That's the only thing the Foundry RapidWeaver theme did. Okay, this line of CSS hides that little warning message. Okay, and this wrapper, it's used for some very edge case features in Foundry for page transitioning. And so, but yeah, this one layout replicates what the Foundry theme in RapidWeaver does. Okay, so pretty cool. So now all I have to do is take this basic layout with this. This does use some stack for my free starter pack, so Foundry users will need my free starter pack. Okay, and but yeah, this project file will allow them to use Foundry, and all of their Foundry sites should work inside Stack 6, especially once that blank theme is shipped. Okay. So yeah, so that's the current status of Foundry. Soon it will be a workable solution. But yeah, right now it isn't quite there yet, but it's close. But pretty cool how I can, leverage the new layouts feature to pretty much give full backwards compatibility for Foundry users, which is nice. There's that. That's the status of that. Any other questions?
There's a little quirk, Joe, on the stacks window, the left-hand side, the pages. If you put lots of pages and then it goes up to the bottom, you cannot edit or you cannot highlight the last 2 pages link.
Oh, really?
But you can just
That's what you meant. Okay, I've been meaning to try to replicate what you were doing, so
you
let's
just
try that again. Right,
so for the meantime, the solution is just adjust it, the window.
If I just
wait.
Oh, you can't scroll that. Okay. Got it. Yeah, you can't select. Yeah, there's some sort, there's something invisible here where you can't do that. All right, interesting. Sweet. Thank you for that. I'll file a bug today.
Joe, unfortunately, I'm having the same problem with the goodie bag that I have connecting with the Weaver Summit. For some reason, I click on it and it just stays forever. So I'm not sure what's happening. I think you send it via was it Sunday.
Your system does not like my redirects for some reason. During the summit, you couldn't get into the thing because it didn't like my redirects. It's very
Whatever,
weird.
yeah. Whatever.
I
yeah.
will.
I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm perplexed. I'm not sure why it's happening. Shoot me an email and I'll give you the direct link to the download.
Yeah, I already did. And one
okay.
thing, you have a folder with it said site for site wide like images, or I cannot remember what it was showing, but it was showing some folders to have like for a site to have all the images or whatever
Yes.
and CSS. Ideally, I would love to have like JavaScript files and CSS so I can, because otherwise the solutions you provide to me, I need to insert in every single page, like inserting all the JavaScript, inserting all the CSS and blah, blah, blah.
Well, no, you would just use a layout and put it in the layout once.
Layout.
Right?
Okay.
Right? So, right? So remember here, remember I created this layout. And then, so what you would do is if you want to have JavaScript at the bottom of the page, instead of adding it to each individual page, you're just going to add it to your layout.
Okay. Yeah. That's
right?
That's a new philosophy that I just forgot.
Yep. So,
okay.
Yep. So that way there's only one place for you to manage it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Now, layouts are awesome. I will let you know about some of my unanswered questions about them.
With that feature, I'll be able to break every page on my site all at once.
Okay. So let's say, and I'm proposing these. I don't know the answers to these questions yet, but you might be having the same questions. Okay. So layouts are awesome. And there's a lot of things that I want to have in my layout. For example, I want to have SEO helper in there, right? Perfect example. But how can I make sure that the content, obviously for SEO helper, the content needs to be specific on each page, right? So what can I do? How can I have that in my layout, but then have it customized on each page? I don't know the answer to that yet. Maybe I can't. Okay. Again, I'm throwing these ideas out there. Maybe I should be keeping my mouth shut. I don't know, but okay. We're having fun here. Another thing. So in my layout, I had here, I'll show you so you don't have to visualize it. Okay. So I showed this interesting layout here where I have this. Okay, see, look here. I need to go into here because I closed this project file, reopened it. Now I need to go and I can. What's going on here? What did I do? Broke something. I don't know what I did. Let's not say. I don't know what I did with this project file. Let's close that. In here. Oh. All right, I gotta put it in here. That one. All right, good. All right. So I have this layout. All right, and I go to my page. Okay, I can see my page, right? But if I go to this other page, what you'll notice is this header text is the same on all my pages, right? So that's something that will have to be addressed. I don't know what the solution for that will be. I've proposed this to Isaiah, this question, and it will be something that will get addressed. I don't know how it will get addressed, but just to let you know, the current limitations is, your layout is currently, the content within it cannot be dynamic at this point in time. Okay. It's possible if you're like a total CMS user, you could probably chuck in a macro in here and then control that macro on each page or something like that. That could be a possibility, but I do think, you know, there needs to be something that, you know, we can utilize to make a layout, at least parts of a layout configurable within the content. Okay. I think Isaiah has plans for that. I don't know exactly what they are, but yeah, just being upfront. While layouts are amazing, what we currently have of layout is just the beginning. Okay.
I bet he just put a pin unpin thing in like he does in partials.
Yeah. Yep. You know, that is, I'm assuming that's going to be the way he goes. How's the UI for that going to work? I don't know, but yeah. Oh, Steven left. He posted a question in the chat that I overlooked about. So he had a question on Total CMS blog uses post.php for the file name. You can still do that. It's just for that page, you would just set the file name to be post.php. And yeah. Oh, the update process. Franco, you asked about that, and I skipped over that. So there's going to be two ways. Either you can go to the stacks menu and say, check for theme and stacks updates. And this window probably looks familiar to you. It is, you know, the stacks update UI. But basically, this is going to be the one place where themes and stacks will all get updated. Okay. And again, you can access that from this menu. You can also click on this little icon right there, and that will open up the same exact window. There you go. I have no updates. Okay. But yeah, that window, it behaves exactly like it does in the Stacks plugin right now. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Any other questions? Things I can help out? No? Sweet. Well, guys, I think we'll call it a day then. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. I hope this helped you out and you got a little you know, sneak peek at Stacks. I know a lot of you, you know, have already seen a lot what I showed today, but you know, sometimes it never hurts to see it again when you actually have the app in your hand. You know, before I showed it off, but you guys didn't have it, right? So it's kind of hard to remember everything. So cool. Hope you guys enjoy Stack 6. Post on the beta group if you have any problems. Let me know. I'm happy to help out and forward on and then create all those bugs for us so we can yeah, have a better app in the future.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you,
Very
Joe.
good. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, Joe.
Thank you.